Hi. Again, I'm Debbie Stringer with David Bauer Custom Homes. The last time that we did a video, we were actually outside of this house, and I told you in a few weeks we would be ready for an inside video. And so today is the day that we are inside the house. Now you'll notice when we walk through that it's not 100% done. We are still having some finishes and cleaning done this week. So hopefully the homeowners can move in next week is the goal. But we can still talk about interior finishes. So I thought we would start with talking about interior trim. A common question that sometimes people wonder is the size of the trim for the room or the ceiling height that is going to be in their house. So this house is an excellent example of tall ceilings equals taller trim. So this is a 9-foot ceiling height in this bedroom, and you can see here this feels like a nice size. This is called door casing, and so this is about 4 inches, and then the top piece, which is the cap, we call that 6 inches with a 1x2 on the top. It's almost like the top of a hat. And then you'll notice too, this is not standard for what we do, but these homeowners really like the idea. The baseboard is 8 inches tall. That is a really tall baseboard, but it looks really neat. This is a very craftsman style. It feels very appropriate. And then, as you can also tell, the windows are trimmed out just like the doors are. So we call those more of a craftsman or farmhouse style grill on the windows. And then the 3-panel doors you'll see throughout this house are called shaker doors. So just some terms that will be helpful in the process when you're starting to think about what you want. These are extremely popular right now. I want to say they're trendy, but it's also a very old-fashioned look. So it's a classic look, and that's what people seem to be going back to nowadays. If they're not going modern, they're going classic. So also we can talk about the color. So this room, obviously, you'll notice there's carpet, but there's a lot of woodwork throughout this house. And so they decided to pick a very mild color for the consistent wood that goes through all of their baseboard, door and window casing, as well as their doors. And you'll notice cabinetry is the same color throughout all of the bathrooms and the kitchen. So let's take a look at the bathroom here. This is a guest bathroom. This is more of like in-law suite. And as you can tell, it's not cleaned yet, but again, this classic, this very neutral wood tone is carried on through the cabinetry in the bathroom. I absolutely love that countertop. That is cultured marble. So you see here, this is the brand that our designers use. Then this is cultured marble. It is very heavy duty. It's not hollow. And then you can pick like a dozen different edgings. And so they picked a very, very unique one to go with this house. So hopefully you can tell that on camera because it just looks super awesome. But you'll just also notice that bathroom countertops are thicker than kitchen countertops are, just in case you were wondering. And then behind me, we can talk a little bit about how tile and shower doors and hardware, how that all ties in. Everything in this house that has a finish to it is oil rubbed bronze. Again, that's also one of the most common colors picked. It looks absolutely beautiful. Our plumbing fixtures, as well as the handlebars, as well as our light fixtures, they all match. And this is what you would consider a frameless shower door. So it's a very clean look. You don't see a lot of hardware that's lining everything out. It's a little bit more expensive than getting a framed shower, but it's not an extreme markup, just in case you were curious. And also our tile installer does an absolutely amazing job with his work. He made recommendations on how to finish out with the trim, and he built the nooks. Which just some things to think about with tile, because it's a question that's coming up a lot, is mosaic glass tile is becoming super popular, but it cannot be used as a shower floor because extreme heat will cause it to break, and then you have broken glass on your feet. So porcelain or ceramic is pretty much it as far as shower floors are concerned. They had originally picked out a slate that also has a tendency to break. So our tile installer made some suggestions, and that's what they picked out. Now you can do, if you wanted to do a glass in the nooks, or in any of the other decorations on the side, that's fine. It just can't be used on the shower floor. No matter what the box stores tell you, it's not a good idea. So now we're going to move on to another area. So now we're in the master suite, and I wanted to bring you in here so that you can see how all of the trim work ties in with the floors. Because another question that we often have is, if we do wood floors and we have wood baseboard, we have wood windows, how do we tie in the floors? Do they go lighter or darker? And so really the answer is it's up to you, but we can see what the choice is for this homeowner. If you look at these, this is a natural hickory floor. And you can see that there are actually variances. This was installed pre-finished, and so there's different sizes. Each of the planks are different. They're different in color, they're different in width, they're different in length. But you can still see that medium tone, how it blends in with this baseboard, because they picked such just a neutral color for the baseboard. A lot of times we see selections where the flooring is actually darker than the trim, and that looks really nice as well. One concern when the floor is a lot darker than the trim is that you actually notice when the floor is dirty a lot more. So the darker the wood is, the more you're going to notice when it's dirty. So a lighter floor really looks great, and if you pick a really light color, this is very light, then you definitely want your trim to be a little bit darker and not be super matchy-matchy. And then when you see the finished photos of this house, the third wood color that they picked is super dark, but that is all in the great room, which we're not quite ready for yet. But all the beam work and the mantle are a really, really dark wood. So they stand out as separate, but they also don't make, because the whole house isn't that dark, it doesn't make the house look too dark. Their idea was they wanted a craftsman house that was also very, very bright, a rustic look, but a bright rustic look. So you'll see that in the finish, for example, of this bedroom, is you would never ever describe it as being dark. It's very bright. There's a lot of windows. None of the woodwork is dark. The finishes are dark, but again, that just doesn't, that shows a nice comparison between colors, but it doesn't bring down the whole color effect of the room. Also, another side note, sometimes we throw around a lot of terms and not everybody is on the same page or familiar with the terms. So if you don't know what a casement window is versus a double hung window, all of the windows in this house are casement windows. So you'll see here, there's a crank at the bottom, and you'll actually crank, and we're going to crank it out. And you have the option of cranking it out to the right or to the left. And so throughout this entire house, there's differences. Some of them crank out to the right, some of them crank out to the left. They do come with screens, so if you're wondering, the screen would be right here on the inside. But they have not installed the screens yet. That's one of the very last things that gets taken care of. And some people prefer not to have screens at all. Now, an awning window would be a window that would just crank out from the bottom. So instead of going out to the side, it comes up from the bottom. But it's very unusual in this area to find awning windows that are tall like this. Almost impossible because of how the rain would run off of the windows. So usually smaller windows, bathroom windows, can be awning windows. Usually they're wider than they are tall. But if we had the choice of it being a double hung window, that would just be consider a traditional window where you can pull it up from the top or you can pull it down from the bottom. So also, I wanted to highlight how awesome these doors are. These are Anderson wood doors. So they match the windows perfectly. The outside is the exact same material as the windows are. So from the outside of the house, it's just one cohesive look. And on the inside, the woodwork, of course, same material as the window jambs, staying the exact same color as the trim. But these are sturdy doors. These are going to hold up for a very long time. So one more thing we're going to talk about today is the master shower. Lots of people these days are doing walk-in showers. This is a very large example of a master shower. So much so that originally when they designed it, they didn't really want a shower door. They wanted it to just be a walk-in. But because of the way the plumbing sprays, they were a little bit concerned about oversplash. So a few other things to remember when it comes to shower floor. If you want it to be flush with the floor, you see here, there is absolutely no tripping hazard. If you want that, it needs to be very specified. It needs to be specified at the very beginning of the process because the plumber literally has to start installing things lower than the floor. So if he gets started, the framers have everything started, and then you say, I don't want a threshold, well then he's got to come back in and cut the floor out and then charges an extra expense for that. So this is a really nice example of no threshold. It is a little bit more expensive. And still, the way that the floor has to taper to the drain, these tile pieces need to be 2 inches or less. So just something to think about too, when you're picking out floor tile, you don't want big pieces because the floor has to be tapered and that will cause cracking if the tile pieces are larger than 2 inches. Also, it's really a good idea to put in some kind of bench. Being a woman myself, it's just always nice to have a nice place where you can shave. Or if you're feeling sick, then you don't have to sit there and stand in your shower. So benches can cost sometimes a little bit extra. This one, not so much. But they're definitely a recommendation for all walk-in showers. And then you see here all of they have different shower nooks as well that were custom built for, there's tall bottles of shampoo and conditioner, and then there's smaller things, and then of course the soap. And so our tile installer will make recommendations on all of that, and he will build that. It's a little bit extra just depending on how many nooks you have built. Also, one more thing. We're talking about expenses. It's really nice to have a handheld shower with a sliding bar and a mounted shower head. However, you have to pay for 2 different rough-in valves when you do that. So just something to take into consideration is that you're not just going to be paying extra for the extra shower head. You're gonna pay extra for all the extra plumbing behind the wall. So that can get more expensive than sometimes we think about at first. But it's an awesome concept, and if you can afford it, go for it. Also, this shower door is a rain glass. So you can see the light transmits through it, but it's pretty opaque. when the door is actually closed, you really can't see a whole lot. This is a very nice door. It's also going to be for sure an upgrade than going with clear glass. So this is a more expensive option as well. But this is a nice heavy duty door. It's 3/8 inches thick. Traditionally, shower doors used to be only 1/4 of an inch thick. And you can still get doors for 1/4 of an inch thick, but certain places won't even offer that size. Usually they start at 3/8 and then they even go up to 1/2 of an inch thick. So that just prevents breaking. It also makes the glass more sturdy as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If there's anything that I left out outside of the kitchen and great room because we couldn't get into them today, please feel free to put a comment on our blog section and we'll make sure to try to implement it in our next video. So thanks for watching.